This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Do you play FanDuel and feel like you aren't creating consistent money-making lineups? Go over to the DFS Doctors on Twitter at the DFS Doctors and DM them with promo code Detroit Sports to get a free trial for their analytically formulated 70% lifetime profit rate NFL and NBA lineups. The whole purpose of playing daily fantasy sports is to get out there and compete and give yourself a chance to win. So go over to the DFS Doctors. Let them help you. They have analysts on staff that look at the best optimal lineup that you can put out there to win money. So why not take advantage? At the DFS Doctors, promo code Detroit Sports.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code Detroit to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane.
Is there a sports podcast in Detroit that people are talking about?
Hey, everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
Everybody to the latest edition of Doc and Jock. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, my cousin Adam, the Jock Strozinski. Cuz, did you know that our podcast lasted longer than John Belein did at Cleveland?
Dude, how? Bro, I don't even know where to start with that. You know what? When the news was breaking that, was it a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, that he had his little slip up where he said that they were playing like thugs. I was like, that's a bad look. And then very quickly, things started to trickle out of that locker room about how they just weren't buying in. Man, it's never have I think I ever seen a really, really good college coach go to the NBA and flame out so quick. Like Calipari sucked in Boston. He was horrible. But man, Belein lost that locker room, and he lost it so quick. And then next thing you know, the All-Star break rolls around, and he's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm done.
Here's the challenging part when you reflect on this whole thing, how good he had it at Michigan. He was building, and I understand when people want to change positions and maybe take on new challenges. He had already done it, gotten to the Final Four, gotten to title games, and the recruiting, I can understand, can be a drag where you got to really sell the program and you got to deal with these young kids that typically at that age are very impulsive and they change their mind relatively quickly, and maybe some requests were being made of these kids that, sometimes when they want to ask for things that maybe are so outlandish, you just get frustrated. So I can understand where recruiting is so tough, but you're John Belein. Just hire a recruiting coordinator.
Yeah.
Bring on somebody you trust. You take a lesser role. They come to you. You're John Belein. You've been to the Final Four. You're royalty. Send a young, hungry recruiter out there and lessen that. I just, looking at it now, knowing that he quit after 54 games, it was a terrible mistake. I know the life in the NBA is a lot easier. Definitely the contract that he got was amazing in terms of guaranteed for 5 years. But here's the fascinating part. Okay, you don't like it. Just go about your business, coach, and get fired.
Yeah.
Get fired at the end of the year. All your money's guaranteed. He walked away from the money.
Step down from all of it.
Step down, and for whatever reason, and you're hearing whispers that, it has to do with losing the locker room, but also maybe some personal things going on with his son, who did not even coach when he got hired at a college university. So there's some things going on there. But to walk away entirely, take no more money from Cleveland, that's classy in my mind. I wouldn't have done it. I just would have said, all right, this isn't working out. I'm just going to coach this out, and at the end of the year, they'll fire me or we'll reach a buyout. To take none of the money, I think is probably the wrong move for the coaching industry as well, too, to say, hey, you had the money guaranteed, just coach it out. There was an expectation anyway in Cleveland that you're going to win year one. So imagine how tough the disrespect had to be going into work every day in, day out, where you got the likes of Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love, who, quite frankly, just never bought in. And look, don't you think that we should prepare for that?
But that's surprising to me, right? So, like, the way his offense runs, you would think it'd be ideal for a guy like Kevin Love. Kevin Love is essentially a spot-up shooter, a guy who can shoot three-pointers and is a jump shooting machine. That's what Beilein's offense really is.
It's just
ball movement and jump shooting.
I find it hard that these NBA athletes don't want to train and don't want to be coached up. And Belein probably went in there just a little bit like, hey, here's some finer points that you can work on. And these guys just aren't into extra practice. They aren't into it. They're coddled. And I just don't think that what he brought to the table was good enough. He probably needed an established NBA vet on that bench with him to really handle the business. And it's unfortunate because he left a great situation, and now he's known as another flameout, one of many, and he's in the likes of Calipari, Lon Kruger, the ones that have come with...
Did Patino
He had a couple stints, but he had a little bit more success, but he wasn't known as anything special in the NBA.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's weird how these college coaches can't make that transition. I figured, honestly, when I found out he was going to Cleveland, I didn't really like the Cleveland situation as a fit for him. But I thought he would be able to bring something to the Cavaliers. Because of the way his offense is built and the way it works, I figured it would be a perfect fit for the NBA. And it just doesn't seem like that's the case. I mean, look, everybody in the NBA likes to shoot. This is a volume shooting type of offense. Move the ball around, open up a three-point look, and just make them. That's it. That's your job. That's what that offense is. And for some reason... It didn't seem to work in Cleveland, and I'm assuming he ended up getting really, really frustrated. And that was probably why there was the thug/slug slip up that occurred. The players obviously didn't buy into the offense, didn't buy into him as a coach, and they checked out. And once you lose the locker room,
you never really get it back.
No, good luck.
If you're an NBA GM, if you're the Cleveland Cavaliers and Dan Gilbert, you've seen this hot name coach, but the dude's in his 60s. It's not relatable to this new wave of the NBA players. It's like, I think one of probably the most egregious thing that I think Cleveland fans are upset about is the 2 young draft picks just haven't looked like they belong. They don't look like they're developing at the pace at this point in the season that was worthy of those selections. And so I think at that point, when you realize, okay, the young players don't buy in, especially knowing that, this isn't college. This is not Michigan. This is not an 18-year-old kid who's starstruck by NCAA basketball. These are pros that are making a boatload of money, who they show up, they clock out, they don't care. So it's disappointing at the highest levels. And I think for NBA GMs, don't hire college coaches in their 60s. You're not going to go and hire Tom Izzo. He would be a washout anywhere. Yeah. Pistons, Lakers, anywhere, because of the fact that, could you imagine Tom Izzo rolling up to Kevin Durant and giving him a scowl after he takes or makes a poor defensive decision? Come on, man. They go right to the media.
Could you imagine Tom Izzo and LeBron? Bro, come on. It's just not going to happen.
Exactly. LeBron will go right to Brian Windhorst and tell the nation that Tom Izzo's the worst coach on earth. It's a different ball game. You got to have respect, and you got to have it. I think that if Belein really was serious about coaching in the NBA, then maybe 5 years ago you join a staff and you learn. You don't take a job from college and jump right to the NBA. I think that's way too hard. Join a staff. Do it like Juwan did, where if Juwan jumps now in 10 years or so, he's going to have success because he spent years learning under Spoelstra and playing and understanding what's going on, playing the game, understanding how to handle things. So it was just a tough situation. So I'm curious, does he enter the fray again in college, or do you see him just stepping aside and never, ever coaching on the sideline again?
The way I could see this playing out is, I mean, it really sounds like what they play, like 64 games ish.
54. He last
54 games. I'm sorry.
Was it 14 and 40?
Yeah, that's what it was. So 54 games. I'm sorry, I do radio, not math. Anyways, 54 games. I think it's really taking its toll on him. So I could see him not jumping back into it, maybe taking another year off, and then in about 2 years come back or enter the fray, but in college. I think generally once you have the coaching bug, you're going to find your way back into it some way, somehow, doing something. So I think maybe next year, maybe Big Ten Network comes to him and he's part of he's one of their analysts. He's on their in-house shows for college basketball. Or maybe Fox comes to him and they give him a little bit of money and he does, the Big Ten basketball games on Fox. And then from there, he enters back into the college ranks. What I think is a little bit upsetting for probably most of us Michigan fans is he was a great college coach. He was fantastic. Juwan Howard coming on really didn't excite me. I look, he was a Fab Five member. Great. I don't necessarily care about that. It's what can you do? And I don't know if he has. I still don't know if he has the coaching chops. I know Michigan has been hot lately. But again, it's been kind of an up and down season for them. But generally, throughout the course of a NCAA basketball season, there is a lot of ebbs and flows. I mean, look at Michigan State. Michigan State last year had a stretch where they lost I think it was like 3 of 4 games or 4 of 6 games, and next thing you know, they're competing in the Final Four. So the NCAA basketball season is a grind. It's a long stretch, but looking back on it, and if you knew what you knew then, now, you know what I'm saying? Man, it sucks to see Belein go, and it sucks even more because he didn't have the success in Cleveland. And it's just one of those things like, man, if he could have stayed one more year, like, honestly, if he could have stayed this year, how different would that team be? You don't know. You really don't know. So it's a little bit frustrating, but I do think he comes back to coaching at a certain point. I mean, it just makes sense, right?
Woo-hoo. Oh my God, look at this. I just seen across Twitter. Check it out. Andre Drummond demanded Cavs move on from Belein. He went there and in 2 weeks was making demands. He's like, how bad has it got to be? Oh man, that's kind of got to be really bad. Andre Drummond's piling on your ass? I got to click this, man. That's actually the funniest shit I think I've read this month.
But listen, right? So it makes sense, right? We just talked about the way his offense works.
Oh, he made demands. He said he would leave this summer. He said, if you don't move on from Belein, I'm out.
Well, think about it. The way the offense works, he can't shoot. He's not a jump shooting big man. You see how good that offense was when Teskey started hitting threes. So it makes sense that Andre would make these demands because the offense doesn't suit him. He's a guy who's got to have the ball fed to him.
Okay, see how toxic a locker room can be? Mm-hmm. Side note, in the report, Drummond shares an agent with Kevin Love. So he went in right away and said, I'm not coming back if Belein's here. And he went right to management and said that the situation in Cleveland was actually worse than it is in Detroit. That's what he went and said to management. Bro, that's the highest level of chicanery and bullshit. And that's tough, man. If you don't have support, see, that's where you need the support of ownership. And I think I understand in the NBA, it's a players' league. It's a players' league. The coaches don't have the clout where 2 players just say, okay, we're done with this. They go to ownership and they remove the guy. And in this situation, Dan Gilbert not being there hands-on as much as he obviously had been in previous years, man, that's tough.
Yeah.
Andre Drummond's calling your ass out. That's got to be something you read and go, oh, Andre Drummond's calling me out.
Unless you're a guy like, I guess Pat Riley in his prime when he was with the Knicks. So he's already been established because he won titles with the Lakers. So now he's with the Knicks. And could you ever see Patrick Ewing calling Pat Riley out?
Right, exactly.
I don't ever see that playing out that way. And if that's the case, I think I see Patrick Ewing losing.
See, that's the worst feeling too, because Belein lived his dream. He got there. That you worked your way up for this first opportunity, and then you realize the players don't like you. They don't buy in. It's not a family. And you probably thought that you probably were going to get rid of some of these guys. You have to have some assurances, like, hey, can I have some input here? Do you have my back? And you got to recognize, too, that some of these players are not going to like me. Yeah, you probably would have wanted to work with a GM to move on from Kevin Love, to move on from Tristan Thompson, but it probably was going to be tough.
I mean, so I guess that's the worst part, right? So you come into a spot, and like you said, I'm assuming that you have some type of assurance, or you're essentially getting in bed with this team, and you feel like they're going to have your back, and then all of a sudden they don't. That makes it really hard for a coach to do his job. Do you know what I'm saying?
Man.
Especially if you need certain types of players to run your very specific offense. That'd be frustrating. It would be really, really frustrating.
Man. Well, speaking of basketball, finally we can celebrate. I think that once the Pistons recognized, and it's kind of a funny dynamic too, because you search online, you see the reactions, and here's what the fanboys do, which I think is classic, is they start to take the notion that, you know what, the organization failed Drummond and the organization failed Reggie Jackson.
Come on, guys.
And they start showing the highlights, and you go, you just want to sit them down and be like, look, there's one thing to be a fan of the team, but then you're just going around and slapping the organization and saying, obviously, what they're showing is they're way pro player. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's fine. You can be pro player, but at the same token, if the entire fan base of Detroit recognizes, okay, Reggie Jackson was injury prone at OKC, and he was never going to be the starter. They moved on from him quick.
Yep.
He comes to Detroit and is very injury prone, and they were no better than...
There were points where he lost his job, then got his job back. Like Ish Smith, basically a journeyman, comes in and takes his job.
Exactly. So all the coaches that would not play him in the fourth quarter, they're all wrong. Van Gundy and, the new coach, Dwayne Casey, which you guys all love, he's wrong too for not playing him. Mm-hmm. You said it. And they were no better than just a couple games above 500 when he was there. Mm-hmm. And then they go, yeah, well, when he was on the court because he was injured so much. Yes, you have to include that in the story.
Yep.
That the dude earned a big contract and was never on the court. And so the fans of Detroit, of course, they were never going to take to him. And I just find it so, frustrating, and you feel dismissed. Like, okay, it's pretty obvious that Reggie Jackson's not on the court. The team's losing. They're no better with him. Why are we having this much loyalty to this guy when, in essence, he probably would take the first train out of here?
Actually, I think his point differential, which I think is a great stat in the NBA, I think his point differential, I think he was like negative 12 points. So when he was on the floor, they were just cutting through him.
Those that believe
played no defense
and spewed out, like we did on the podcast several years ago, that, hey, the Pistons are really delaying this rebuild by sticking with Drummond and Reggie Jackson, then adding to it with Blake Griffin, that was a disaster. We screamed it from the high heavens. And no, we're not going to claim we're basketball experts, but what we know is the team was no better on the floor. Mm-hmm. They were not consistently winning enough. And then it showed itself when they got to the postseason and they got blown out and didn't win a single game against the Bucks. So those of us that said rebuild understand that we want to do it for the betterment of the team. Of course, losing sucks. Of course, when you look at, a decade with no playoff wins, there's a beat writer that had his whole career writing for the Pistons and didn't write about one single playoff win. Not one. So how tough can that be? A 12-year stretch where you cover a team and they're going to do nothing. That's got to be frustrating at the highest level. And for fans, they just want a tough team, a team that has talent, and guys that are going to work hard every single game. And I think that there's scenarios where the fans are taking a lot of heat for the way they treated Reggie and Andre, but it was justified. Those guys didn't bring it night in, night out, and they were never accepted. Detroit's pretty much a fair indicator of how they view you as a player. They're pretty fair. If you work hard and grind, they will respect you if you don't have the biggest talent. Okay? You do get that respect if you're trying hard. And so all you had to hear was, it wasn't just podcasters and fans and bloggers and media. Chauncey Billups called out Andre Drummond. Mm-hmm. Chauncey said, this guy's not trying. You'd see Dwayne Casey yanked his ass from the court. So what more further indication does that send to the team that these guys are not a fit? And so bringing on Blake, and here's the tough part and the delicate part about Detroit, and you and I have been texting back and forth about it. General managers got to be ahead of the game. They can't be behind the curve. Last year, Blake was playing well. Doesn't nobody in that leadership group, when you're sitting around the table, go, I don't think we can win a championship with these three guys? And you go, man, they're playing good. What can we do? Trade Blake. Trade him now. Trade Andre last year. You could have got maybe a late first rounder. You could have got some more for Blake and some more for Andre instead of what you decided, which is, man, which was crazy. when I went to Pistons Media Day, the level of hope was just pretty sickening. I almost wanted to ask, like, okay, if this doesn't work out by the trade deadline, are you guys going to sell? Because there's no hope for you guys to make the playoffs with this roster. How did you guys not know that Blake and Reggie were going to be hurt? It's pretty much a given. You could have wrote that in. Okay, they're going to play 30 games max. So, sayonara, the Pistons are back. I have no bones about it. I'm happy. The Pistons obviously looked at it and said, let's buy him out and let's let him move on. And they've moved on from Reggie and from Andre Drummond. So good on the Pistons. Now they're at actually day 2 of a rebuild.
Yeah.
Day 2. And this still is going to take another 3 to 4 years because they waited too long. But at the end of the day, they finally recognized it. And hopefully the leadership group, the committee they got there and working with Ed Stefanski, that they figure out and identify talent, lose as many games as possible, and man, guys, could you imagine having John Morant or Zion here if you had tanked last year? That would have been fantastic. You can't, as a general manager in this day and age, be wishy-washy. Either you're rebuilding and identifying talent and drafting high, or you're putting out there and investing money in your team. You can't have a decade of being in the middle.
Well,
a decade?
This is the thing, right? And I agree with you 100%. If you're a Piston fan, you need to be excited about this because this signals that, hey, we understand what's going on. And now we are committed. We are committed to the rebuild. Okay? So you've moved on from your franchise centerpiece, which was Andre Drummond. You moved on from the guy who you thought was going to be able to help take you to the promised land in Reggie Jackson. All right? You've moved on from both those pieces. All right? The only thing that could have made this any better, this season any better, was you get Derrick Rose here. Derrick Rose is putting up numbers and he's healthy, and you're able to trade him for a first-round pick. That's the only thing that makes what's going on right now better. But here is the silver lining. You get Derrick Rose for one more year, okay? So we both assume you're going to be drafting no worse than probably 4 in the NBA draft, maybe 5, because the way the rules kind of work where if you're, like a top, you can usually draft, if you're a top 3 pick, you can usually draft no worse than 3 spots behind wherever you finish for the regular season. So they're a pretty horrible team right now, one of the worst in the NBA. So I think we both agree that they'll be drafting no worse than 5 is what we're assuming at this point in time. So you have a great shot to get a solid piece to build around for the following year. That being said, I don't think next year you're going to win anything either, right? I don't think you're going to be as bad of a team as you are this year unless you do some full-blown tanking. But you'll have the ability to move on from a guy like Derrick Rose, and hopefully he stays healthy and you can turn that into a first-round pick. So now next year you go in with multiple first-round picks. And again, it's all about draft capital. The more you have, the more you can get, the more pieces you can use to build around, and the more swings you have at getting a star player, the better off you're going to be. Because this team needs a star, needs a superstar. They need somebody you can build around. Whether that's Sekou, I don't know. Whether it's Svi, I don't think so. Or it's somebody else on this roster right now. You need to find pieces to build and construct your team around. And you know what? Doing it young, there's going to be some growing pains, and it's going to suck. All right? It is. At some point, you're going to have to facilitate a trade to bring somebody here to really help put this team over the top. But if you do it right and you build young, you have a much better shot to be successful and to be successful for a longer duration. I think they're doing it right. And I think by moving on from Reggie Jackson, I think it's the right move. I think you're right. They are behind where they should be because they should have been doing this 2 and 3 years ago. But you know what? If you're a Piston fan, be excited because they finally realized what the hell's going on, and now they're making the moves and they're doing what they have to do to get this team in the right spot going forward.
Are you happy with currently how the Pistons are tanking and they're finally doing it the right way? It seems like, okay, they're playing the young cats. Obviously, you've moved on from some talented individuals that can at least play. I mean, obviously, when you do lose Andre and Reggie, Andre, the double-double machine and things like that, Blake not playing and, having a season-long injury battle. I think this year has been at least an indication that, okay, they can lose games. Mm-hmm. They're not good enough at this point in time with the roster that they have, with Svi, with Luke Kennard and his bum knee. You've actually done a good job of obviously Kennard struggled as well this year, hasn't been on the court as much as he would like with, issues that he's got with his knee. So I'm happy. I think that they're giving themselves a chance to bottom out and give themselves a chance to get some ping pong balls. But in looking at the draft, I mean, there are some talented individuals you could get next year, but there's no generational type person that you're seeing, like you saw in the last couple of years.
No, and I agree with you. The thing is, again, you just need to get somebody who's going to work, right? You need to go out there, get somebody who. So when we talk about players in the NBA, right? You have your superstars, right? You have your generational talent. So you've got your guys like LeBron James. Zion was put in that generational caliber last year. I don't know if he'll be that, but he is what is considered a superstar. Giannis, a superstar. And then you've got guys who have star potential, right? Or are stars in the league. Prime example, what is it? Zach LaVine, right? He's a solid player, real good player, a human highlight reel. But I don't think he's a guy who can put a whole team on his back and carry them. But he's a guy who is a valuable piece to a roster that is kind of filled with other guys doing their jobs. After that, you've got essentially guys who are role players, and then you've got guys coming off the bench. What you need on this team right now you need stars, okay? So if all accounts on Sekou is he might be a superstar. He might be. They're not really sure. He's still really young, but he's ahead of where he's supposed to be. That was the last real report on him where it kind of talked about his development. He's ahead of where he needs to be, and he's got potential superstar makings. All right? If he doesn't ever obtain that, and we'll say he's just a star. Again, this year's draft class, not a ton of superstars in it, right? You need to go out, you need to get a star. You need to find, depending on where you're going to be drafting, you need to go find the best player available at that position who's going to come in and make an immediate impact on this roster, right? That's always the goal, but you have to do it. Stefanski has to do it. So you have to go get another star to pair with Sekou. Next year, if you suck, and we're both hoping that you suck, right? And then you somehow can move on from Derrick Rose for a first-round pick. All right. Now, if you have to, you can pair both of those and go find your superstar. If not, if you're drafting high enough and you get lucky enough to where the ping pong balls kind of fall in your favor, you need to draft that superstar. So if you have two stars and you have a superstar, you should be in really, really good position. There's your big three, and they're young. Now go out and trade for somebody. Trade for that veteran presence who can help put this team over the top. And now we're kind of in the kitchen and we're cooking, and we can see this team working its way up the slotting for the playoffs, going from a team that is, 15th in the East to a team that is 12th in the East to a team that is vying for a playoff spot, for a team that is now 5th in the East in playing in the playoffs to a team that is now in the upper third of the playoff roster, the playoff setup. Do you know what I'm saying? It's all about growing, but you have to go out and you have to establish and you have to get these guys who are going to contribute. And like you said, it doesn't look like there's going to be anybody who's astronomical that's like Zion was last year, right? And Zion came with some baggage. He was hurt for most of the year, but since he's come back, he looks amazing.
Quick note: did you like the All-Star Game festivities and the way that the scoring in the fourth quarter made it so that you have this point total that you have to work towards? You were seeing blocks, you were seeing defense. It made for a fun NBA weekend, something to kind of honor Kobe in the right way. And by all accounts, the dunk contest with the controversy with someone trying to dunk over a 7'5" individual, I thought all in all, a good weekend for the NBA. Something a little bit different in terms of the All-Star Game. I hope they stick with it because it seemed like the players really liked it. Yeah. And when you have a situation where the players are into it, it made for a better game, and it was really competitive to see at least something of a competitive basketball nature in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I love when the All-Star games get ratcheted up a notch. Like, I remember watching old NHL All-Star games where Jeremy Roenick was in there playing, and he would like go and check guys, and like you like seeing that, right? You like seeing the physicality, or you like seeing the guys going out there trying to lay it all on the line to win. Essentially, it's an exhibition game. It doesn't mean anything.
Because this was the first time the NHL All-Star Game came and went, and I heard nothing about it. Yeah. Not a tweet, not a photo, not a commentary, not a single thing.
You didn't miss out.
I know.
Anything.
I don't think so either. That's the scary part is I'm online a lot, and I'm definitely looking, and I follow a lot of media accounts, and for that weekend to pass, to hear nothing about it was pretty fascinating. I was just like, well, I probably didn't miss much anyway because nobody's talking about it.
The highlight or the best part was the Friday night they had the ladies play a 3-on-3 game.
Okay.
It was the U.S. ladies versus Canada. That was the best part.
See, with basketball in town, I think things are on the uptick, at least with Michigan Seeing Isaiah Livers come back totally transforms that team. Michigan State, they got to be really careful if they don't turn it around real quick. If the leaders don't step it up, they could be a first weekend out team in the NCAA tournament if they make it. They got to do some things in the Big Ten tournament. They got to actually step it up now. It's go time. February 19th, I'm not seeing the explosiveness. I'm not seeing the killer instinct that usually we start to see around late February. And so this team has to, the Spartans, step it up. And Juwan Howard, you look, give him credit. Obviously, his first year, you were going to see some ebbs and flows. And with Isaiah Livers, you start to see a little bit how he affects that team. And having him now, I think, at the time of this recording, maybe a game-time decision at Rutgers, that makes things tough for Michigan because they need as many wins as possible to secure their NCAA berth. But look, you do get a sense that Juwan Howard is a coach that understands how to relate to these players. We'll bring in some good, talented individuals. Then it'll be fascinating to see what the next step is for Juwan. I think his first year, you give him a solid B. He's done a good job. Whether or not Michigan makes it to the NCAA is irrelevant. It's his first year. He's getting the lay of the land. He does not have his players. So all in all, I think he's done a good job. Somebody that Michigan fans can gravitate towards, especially with how candid he is in the media, how relatable he appears in terms of being so grateful to coach at Michigan. I think you guys might have a 10 to 15-year coach there at Michigan that might make one or two deep runs that could really spark some success for the Wolverines on the basketball side. Because you guys are realizing that now basketball's taking a step forward, baseball's at the forefront. The football program is,
however, football is not
lagging behind, which is fine by me. But I'm noticing that the other sports are having a little bit more success and are trending a little bit, spiking up a little bit faster than the football team. But at least the football team, you could say this, they're not struggling as bad as Michigan State's going to in the next 300 days.
That's all because of Jim Harbaugh, right?
Yeah, no doubt. It's all Jim Harbaugh's fault. You got to pay attention, though. You're hearing the whispers. I know you're hearing them. There's some talk about, okay, his contract is approaching. You're not hearing the extension. You're not hearing the raise. You're not hearing enough about what's going to happen in the future. And you know what the rest of the coaches are doing. Oh, they're not signing him? He's not extended yet? Oh, he's probably going to be gone. He's going to go to the NFL. He's going to be blown out. So they better take care of that real quick. You're starting to hear the whispers online and in the media that, what's going on with Jim Harbaugh's new contract? Because it puts Michigan in a dicey situation when you look at it, because the question that therein lies the question regarding how much do you give Jim Harbaugh? Do you give him a raise for no Big Ten title appearances, for no big wins over Ohio State? Do you give him a raise? That's definitely a situation where you go, wow, do you pay this guy the top, highest paid coach in college football without the kind of wins to show it? So that's going to be really delicate to see what kind of numbers he's looking for, what kind of buyouts are there. So pay attention in the coming months. It's going to be talked about and speculated about regarding what's going on with Michigan football. And we'll be here at DocNJock to break it all down, to stir it all up, to reignite the rivalry between Mel Tucker's Michigan State Spartans and Jim Harbaugh's Michigan Wolverines. Second half of the podcast, we're going to keep the football talk going. Lots of drama surrounding Darrius Slay. It continues. Mock drafts galore. Some in the media are mocking Tua Tagovailoa to the Lions. Oh, we got to dive into it. Adams found a mock draft. We got to look at Darrius Slay and his situation. What is ideal for the Detroit Lions? We're going to tackle all that next here on DocNJock. The reason why we're able to keep the studio lights on, the microphones hot here in our Sterling Heights studio is thanks to great sponsors. And here at the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, we love working with our sponsors. They take care of us. We've worked with great sponsors for now 6 years. And the two sponsors of this week's episode are the Motor City Pawnbrokers and the Flick Chat application. The Motor City Pawnbrokers are the one-stop pawn shop when you're looking for quality, brand name new, and pre-owned merchandise. With locations in Detroit, Roseville, Ferndale, and Warren, their mission is to deliver exceptional value. For all information, for all the great deals, head on over today to MotorCityPawnbrokers.com. That's the MotorCityPawnbrokers.com. And if you're near any of the locations, head on in, check out all the great happenings, all the great deals. Tell one of the staff that the Detroit Sports Podcast Network sent you, and Mark and the crew, they'll take care of you. Head on over today, MotorCityPawnbrokers.com. If you've agreed or disagreed with anything that you've heard on this episode or any episode, head on over to the Flick Chat application. What's Flick, you ask? It's a great way to connect with all Detroit sports fans locally and nationally. You download it, you go to your favorite app store, whether it be Google Play or the Apple Store, and you download Flick Chat. And within moments, all you got to do, hit that plus button, all lowercase, DSP, and boom, you're entered. Moments. Right then and there, you can create your first topic. You can literally download the app and create a topic within the first 3 minutes of having the application, and you can interact with all Detroit sports fans, create your own topics about players. If you were one of those guys we were talking about earlier and you love Reggie Jackson and you were just crying and devastated and almost wanted to make a video with yourself sitting in a car crying about it, feel free. Talk about it. Talk about it with us. Debate us. Tell us why you think Reggie and Andre were treated horribly by the Pistons and the fans. It's great. And if you're a fan of podcasts like Adam and I are, you can listen to your favorite podcast right there via Flick. All our podcasts are right there in the group. Head on over today. Don't miss out. Detroit Sports, greatest headquarters to talk sports, the Flick Chat application. Because I was telling my wife, I was like, you know what? To be honest, the juice regarding the SI Lions Maven website has actually been stronger in the offseason than it ever was really throughout the entire year. And you look at it, and I covered the team day in, day out from August till December. Quite early on, you basically had 3 good weeks. Okay?
Yeah.
Remember, 2-1 start.
That's right.
It was juicy. We had numbers. Okay, then the losses started, and then basically fans were like, oh, what are we going to really hear about that's going to be new? Good numbers, but once the offseason started, I'm like, whoa, the level of engagement regarding free agency, the draft, creating my own mock drafts, and exploring different rumors and what people post. And I was like, man, I got to work from January to August to basically offset and do great numbers for the season because the Lions, look, let's be honest. You know whatever they're going to do, they're probably going to slot into a 7-9 win team if they just are average. Yep. So you look at it and I go, wow, the amount of engagement. I give you guys credit. You Lions fans are awesome. You read our stuff. You engage with it. You call me out. You talk about my penmanship, my tone, and my attitude, and I love it. I love the fact that you've given me an opportunity to cover the NFL team here in Detroit, and you guys are into it. Keep it up. I love it. Good, bad, and different. Look, because I don't know if you heard, MLive is disabling their comment section. They're taking it out, yeah, because they said that of their users, and then they broke it down in numbers. They get 10 million users a month on their site, but only like 2,000 people comment. And it's the same couple hundred people. So they're like, the percentage of discourse is not there, and it's all toxic and weird, and it's not the same. So they're like, you know what, we're going to go about it and let you comment on Facebook, but we're going to take out the comment section. And I kind of agree with that a little bit in that a lot of times if I post something, okay, and it'll be of the nature of, hey, do you guys want to, look out and maybe trade for Stephon Diggs? You know, a couple you get some good debate like, no, his contract is too prohibitive. No, he's not going to fit in well with Kenny Galladay. And then you get 3 or 4 like, you're an idiot. Why would you even suggest this? Why does this company even hire you? I can't believe you guys. I'm never going to take you seriously again. And you're like, okay, you realize I've been doing this for 6 years and I know what to talk about and I don't really care. And there was one that was, I think, hilarious, and I shared it with you, where somebody was like, F off, and the horse you rode in on. Yeah. That was funny. And I was like, guys, you got to understand, okay? Look, I just implore you, and I'm going to say this periodically because you get a sense of what people do. Please, 3 things. Read the tweet, okay, 1. 2, read the headline. 3, please read the entire article, okay? When I write ESPN proposes trade proposal for Darrius Slay, it's not me. I don't work for ESPN. I will declare who said it, what they said, and then my opinion on it, okay? And I'll give you that access because I'm aware not everybody's on Twitter like me, so I'll bring you the stuff that's relevant. So please just read it and don't attribute it to me, okay? I don't make trade proposals. I don't know what these guys are worth. I would just be like, all right, here's how the Doc's trade proposal would go. Darrius Slay, buy. Stafford, buy. Marvin Jones, buy. I would be like, every year, 53 out. We didn't win, 53 in. I would redo the whole roster, okay? And I would, give guys contracts that would not make any sense, okay? So it's not me making proposals. Remember, a lot of time media is, hey, this is what's being said. What do you think about it? And really, that's all I did on Twitter before I was writing for Sports Illustrated Lions Maven. That's all I did was bring about discussion. So please, Answer the question, and you'll hear me tweet about it all the time. Just answer the question. If you like it or don't like it, I'm not going anywhere. Okay, the numbers are good. Our podcasts are great. Adam and I love doing this. We're almost 350 episodes in, cuz we're outlasting coaches going from college to the NBA. We've outlasted now a couple NFL coaches. So look, in that sense, please embrace the debate, embrace the topics. We have to do it. And I was just saying to Andrea, man, the juice in the offseason is awesome. And guess who's leading the way? Our guy, Mr. Money himself. I literally want to write a check to Darrius Slay and be like, Darrius, thank you. Your Twitter account, your comments, your glorious self-promotion of telling us what you want has made it so that, because you know what happened, the Lions directly shot a message to Adam Schefter and were like, we're hearing his contract demands that he's kind of tweeting to everybody, to these local bloggers. So guess what we're going to filter out there? Boom, Adam Schefter on Monday. He comes out and he's like, the Detroit Lions are talking to multiple teams regarding trading Darrius Slay. You know that was a direct response. That stuff doesn't get out from Adam Schefter unless a source close to the Lions tells him that. So that's a direct response from the Lions. You know it, and I love it.
And with the way ESPN works, everything's got to be. They just don't allow him to go with
and
that.
Say that, yeah, exactly. So he knows what's up. So he's spoken to different general managers as well. So he's in the know. He's connected. He recognizes what's going on. And then Darrius Slay, he doubled down. He's like, I'm one of the top corners. All the fans love me. And so it's a fascinating dynamic of what he's doing. I get it. He's rallying the fans around him against the organization. Now, me personally, I get it. I am a fan of the Lions, guys, okay? Don't get it twisted. I cover the team, which is a massive blessing from where I came from. I'm a fan of the team. There's a new word for it. I'm a fanalist in terms of a fan analyzing the team. But at the same time, I tend maybe 53-47 to lean on the side of management. I'm not cutting Darrius Slay a check for $17 million at 29 years old for 2 more years, okay? No. I'm out there saying, look, this could have been resolved already. Take it or leave it. We're going to offer you 14.5. Take it or leave it. You don't want it? Boom, trade happens. You don't have to have all this discourse, okay? Because by letting it fester, Darrius is out there campaigning every single day. And now what's happening with this great social media, all the NFL players are on board going, get your money, bro, get your money. Herman Moore, get your money, get your money. Of course, everybody wants, when they're a free agent, to get the most dollars possible. It's a given. But for Darrius to keep doing it, I think is actually hurting him. Mm-hmm. It's not helping the cause because Detroit doesn't want to do it this way. They don't want Darrius Slay tweeting all day long, I want 4 years, $68 million. So you look at it, and we'll start the Lions discussion. Soon we're going to talk about what we think is the best for the Lions. But bottom line, cuz, should the Lions trade Darrius Slay? Because the argument is, how do you make this team better by moving on from Darrius Slay? That's a pickle, because even if you draft Okudah, it doesn't really make the team better. But we are discounting the fact that how much of his performance is going to slip. What are we going to get in 2020? Are we going to get Darrius Slay of 2017, 2018? Or are we going to get a continuation of maybe a 5% decline? Because you got to remember, when it hits quick and it hits painful. And you don't want to be on the hook for that $30 million when game 1 or game 2, oh shit, he's getting burned and he's now 25% slower.
Yep. I love Darrius Slay. I think he's great. I think he's fantastic. Arguably top 5, top 10 corner in the league. You trade him though.
Yes.
You trade him this year.
Yep. Sayonara, buddy. Give me a second rounder.
You have to, because honestly, well, you said when it goes, it goes. And it goes quick. And last year, he did not have his best year. He did get better as the season wore on, but I don't believe he is no longer that threat. He no longer strikes fear in the offenses. I think you're starting to see a little bit of age creep up with him. And I don't want to pay a guy $15 to $16 or $17 million when he's on the downside of his career. It doesn't make sense. Look, there are certain positions that you pay after the age of 30, all right? Cornerback is not one of them. You generally don't pay running backs after the age of 30. You generally do not pay wide receivers after the age of 30. Certain cases you can, in certain cases you do, but generally you don't. If they're an elite talent like a Julio Jones, you could make the argument that yes, after the age of 30, he should be paid. As far as defenses go, I don't really know who you pay after the age of 30. I mean, maybe a linebacker. If you've got a guy like Ray Lewis, I could see paying him, right? But again, Ray Lewis is once in a lifetime. You know what I'm saying? You don't normally find guys like that. Luke Kuechly, before all of his concussion issues, I could see paying him if he wasn't one head blow away from basically sitting on the turf and crying. You know, it just in football, there's a cutoff. Quarterbacks are like the only position you really pay after the age of 30, and it's just because their careers can get prolonged. They're not basically being ground up and spit out. Everybody else, it's like it just constantly you're reloading with dudes. You know, like, all right, cool, that guy's done. Next guy, that guy's done. Next. That's why it's next guy up all the time. I don't pay Darrius Slay the money he wants.
So, in the notion that I think people are exploring is a factor that obviously you have to take into consideration. Martha Ford and ownership said that they want the team in playoff contention. Mm-hmm. So that's the added spice that is in there that people have to weigh, that I think Bob Quinn and the coaching staff have to weigh. So I penned a column, and I think that when you look at it, people are kind of categorizing it as either or. You trade him or give him a contract extension. What if, and I proposed it, you just do nothing. You say, you know what, we're going to try to give you this much money, $14 million, maybe a 1-year deal with a big boost, and we'll keep you around. If you say no, the Lions actually, hold the position. He's under contract.
Yeah.
They do not have to do anything. He holds out for the fun of OTAs and the stuff that's not mandatory. He even holds out and gets fines. Bro, he's going to get $12 million, 10 guaranteed, and then a couple million to be on the roster. So you look at it and you say, well, okay, we can keep him. He's going to show up. Why? Because even if he's the most upset he's ever was, he still was productive this year. So I foresee the same thing happening. He has to get a new contract, so he's not going to go out there and put out bad film. He may hold out the entire 4 weeks of the preseason. So what? It's Darrius Slay. He's going to take care of his body. He'll show up game 1. And he will produce at the level where he needs to. He's not happy. Boom. Free agent. I'm out. Sayonara. I'm never giving you a chance. Do your thing. But you have an opportunity if you draft Okudah. You do think that Darrius will take him under his wing and at least be professional.
You would hope.
And you just got to deal with his mouth and just, the jokes and the online persona and the things that he does in terms of just saying whatever, whenever. So personally,
if you were a head coach, though, would that stuff bother you?
No.
Like, I don't think it'd bother me.
No, it doesn't bother me one bit because he's productive. The part that I think maybe you don't want is you don't want things sparked up. And I think everything that was said was pretty fair, but maybe the two things that triggered meetings in the year were the fact when Slay said that the puzzle pieces don't work.
Yeah.
So that one, the coach would be like, hey, you're kind of letting out and that you don't like what's going on. That's fine, but bring it in-house. And I think Patricia's open.
I just don't want you starting issues in my locker room.
Exactly, and that's what it is. And maybe the one thing that I think also maybe draws the ire of leadership is the fact that he's so jovial, being like, I'm rich and I get paid, like giving out details of when you get paid and how you get paid and saying, oh, I'm good. No, you just straight answer, can you turn out the noise? Yeah, I can turn out the noise. It's tough, but we're working hard every day to bring a winner here to Detroit, and hopefully
But that's
we get
not
done.
him, though.
Exactly, but you don't want him being like, he's like happy. He's got a big smile on his face. He's like, peace out and joking. And
He's a different sort of dude, though.
That's
And
not what they're looking for.
No, I get it. I get
So
it.
those are
They
the two
want
things.
robots. They want robots.
Just give good answers, look stern in the camera, speak in platitudes, and keep it moving. I think that's what they want. But as long as he produces, he knows that. He's one of the best corners in the league. He's highly respected. So he's like, I'm going to do me. I don't care about all that. And once you trade his boy, his best friend, forget about it. It's out.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that they don't have to make a deal where you get the worst end of it. They want the teams. In the report by Adam Schefter, it came out, and the report was, in order to move on from Darrius Slay, they're going to have to come with a serious trade, probably in the neighborhood of a second rounder, and they're going to have to promise him a new deal so that they don't get a rental. So probably in the neighborhood of $15 or more million a year, and that's what they're looking for. So I don't see that getting done, though. I don't see teams maybe outside of the Cowboys or maybe the Broncos looking at that, but the way I think this shakes out, he plays under his current deal. Same exact scenario, and then he's gone. Yep. You get him for one more year, you train Okudah, keep it moving, and that's probably the best case scenario because I don't know if you're going to get that deal.
Could you see this happening? So he comes in, plays, like they deal with all the BS that's going to happen in the offseason, right? He comes in for week 1, he plays pretty well through the first half of the season or the first part of the season. gets to the trade deadline, I could see him being moved to a contender as either a rental or they're looking to extend him. I could see him being moved and them getting something in return at that time for the following draft. I myself would prefer him be moved now. Save yourself the headache of what's going to happen in the offseason. Get something in this draft so you can add some pieces for next year and really get whatever this is, whether it's a rebuild, whether it's a tinker, whether it's just trying to reload. I don't know what you want to classify this as. I don't even think the Lions know what they want to classify this as. Get something now so you can kind of get out in front of it and get ahead of the game.
Minimum second rounder we're good with?
Yeah, but I want a high second rounder. I want top 15 second rounder.
Yeah. All right. So now we turn our attention to the talk of what everybody's kind of looking at. I, on SI Lions, may even put out a mock draft that featured the Lions taking Tua, and it's pretty straightforward in that, pretty soon Tua's going to have to show everybody what he's got. Mm-hmm. Show us your medicals. Show us your arm. What do you got? His pro day, his workouts. We're going to see if he's healthy. And the debate is going to ratchet up because you know what's going to happen. If the Lions pass on Tua and he goes to Miami, all of a sudden Miami's going to be the class of the AFC and take over the Patriots. If the Lions select Tua, he's going to be injury prone and end up being the next, RG3. So that's the fear. But why not the perfect marriage? Why not the one time where the talent meets the expectation, where maybe he is the next Patrick Mahomes, he's the next Steve Young, he's the next guy with the potential, the it factor that maybe doesn't show up on all these measurements and all these workouts, but when he gets in the game, for whatever reason, the ball finds the receiver and the Lions win. So more and more people are, looking at the scenario and saying, okay, maybe the Lions are doing this as a smokescreen. But when Mel Kiper puts Tua Tagovailoa in his mock draft version 2.0, people pay attention and they spend radio shows and podcasts breaking it all down. So now I think the consensus and what people are really saying is, okay, they would be okay with drafting Tua as long as the Lions don't trade Matthew Stafford. Let Stafford play this year. Let potentially him increase his value by showing what he's got when he's healthy. And so I think that you and I got to look at it and say, okay, what is the plan A? What's the right path for the Lions? Is it Stafford and drafting defense no matter what with pick number 3? Or could we entertain the notion that plan A, the best thing, is starting to move on and consider the next franchise quarterback being Tua Tagovailoa? What's best for the Lions? Stafford and Tua? Blending them and getting Stafford on the page, getting him on the path of moving on and teaching Tua and letting Tua sit for a year and seeing what happens with Stafford in this critical year? Or you say, you know what? No. Plan A for the Lions to meet the expectations of ownership is Stafford starting and drafting an impactful defender.
I'm going Stafford and Tua. Okay, and here's why. Stafford last year missed the entire year with his back injury. That's the second year in a row where he's had to deal with this crippling back injury. All right. You don't know how much more time you have left with him. All right. He's getting up there. He's getting knocked around. This guy has been a warrior for you for years. And I think it's time that you have to start to plan for the future. You've got to plan for his exit, whatever it is, whenever it is. All right. So why not go out there and get ahead of the curve? Get the next guy. Get the guy who, honestly, if Tua didn't break his hip, we would probably be talking about him going one or two, okay? But because of a medical issue, he might be lucky enough to fall into your lap as the Detroit Lions, all right? So with that being the case, go out there and grab that guy. Protect yourself. Prepare for the future. Look, we have a history of the Lions not doing this, okay? Go no further to when you had Ndamukong Suh in the final year of his contract. All right? You could have went out and you could have drafted Aaron Donald. Think about how good that defense would have been with Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh that 1 year. Ndamukong Suh then leaves, and the heir apparent is right there to take over. And think about how good that defensive line would have looked with Aaron Donald as your centerpiece. It would have restructured how you did everything because he was so damn impactful. He could play inside, he could play outside. Now, with Tua and Stafford aren't going to necessarily get on the field at the same time together, not unless Bevel comes up with some really creative game plans. And again, that's if Tua comes into camp and comes into the season 100% healthy. So you're taking a little bit of a risk here. But I think we're going to assume the medicals come back clear. If that's the case, bring Tua in. Let him sit for a year. Even if you have to, let him sit for 2 years behind Stafford. Who the hell cares? You don't have to look any further than Green Bay, where you have a quarterback who came in and basically bided his time. And the next thing you know, when he got his shot, he succeeded. You can do the same thing here. You can. And I know Green Bay and I know Detroit are not in the same in the same solar system when it comes to success. I'm aware. I get it. Okay? But as an organization, you have to protect yourself and you have to prepare to move on from this guy that you have under center. Honestly, guys, what have you won with Matt Stafford? Matt Stafford showed me a ton last year. All right? Showed me a ton. And I don't think he's the issue, but all that being said, you've never won anything with the guy. So what the hell is the point of continuing along that process? Go get the next guy. Go get the guy who you believe could catapult you and take you that next step. Tua brings a couple different things to the table. He's a little bit more mobile. He's got a pretty good arm. He's a great leader. At least that's what the reports are that come out of Alabama. And the guy can do it at the highest level because he's done it at the highest level. I don't have an issue if you want to bring Tua in at number 3, slot him behind Stafford for a year, and then move on from Stafford. I mean, there's a great possibility that you bring him in, he sits for a year behind Stafford, and the next thing you know, you feel like he's ready to take over. You can then trade Matt Stafford. I know there's going to be a little bit of a cap hit, but it's okay. The way that Bob Quinn has structured this organization, they are so solid when it comes to money. You don't necessarily have to worry about dealing with a cap hit or a luxury tax. You don't have to worry about any of that. You can move on from Matt Stafford and still be able to go out and add pieces to this team. It'll suck for a year. Yeah, cool, I get it. You're paying for a player who's not here. But if you get a second-round pick in return for a quarterback that you're not even going to use, why the hell wouldn't you? To me, it only makes sense that you go out and you grab this guy, insulate your team, and prepare for the future.
Couldn't disagree more with what you just said. Okay, because when you look at, that's what they've been doing. Frank Ragnow, TJ Hawkinson, drafting wide receivers. All that the Lions have done is surround Stafford with weapons. Okay, and high draft picks for offensive linemen. Taylor Decker. When are they going to actually address the defense? This year. Finally, plan A has to be trade down 2 spots with Miami, get Okudah, get Simmons, get Brown. No matter what, you have to improve the defense because the top-end players. Now, there are dream scenarios. You may even have a situation now that, I don't know if you've heard the whispers, Joe Burrow might be pulling Eli Manning. He may not want to go to Cincinnati because his career is going to die. There, even, the memory of Joe Montana couldn't come back there to Cincinnati and revive that franchise. So he may not do that. So you might have to shock the world with his numbers, zip on the ball, complete medicals. He may even go 1. You may even have the opportunity at 3 to have Chase Young land in your lap. You tell me that you're going to draft Tua with Chase Young staring you in the face. Plan A has to be address the defense, and Matt Patricia has to sell to Bob Quinn. Look, the defense was bad. We didn't have enough talent. Bob, you put a tight end, with the first pick when I walk in here with number 8, and you buck all the trends. No. If you have an opportunity to trade back and get more picks, you got to go defense, and maybe even the 3rd round defense. There's opportunities to get some talented wide receivers later in the draft, running back. See, here's the thing I was thinking about as I was driving, listening to, Big Drew and Jim and other radio stations as well. I was thinking, man, all these fans don't want the teams in Detroit to move on from their players because the general managers are so fucking awful. If Bob Quinn had any sense of talent evaluation, all the fans would be like, sayonara, Darrius Slay, we're going to get Okudah and he's going to be in right away. But we all have that fear like, man, if we take Okudah, is he going to actually play well? Is he going to be right there at the right spot at the right value? Because the general managers in town suck so bad, everybody just goes to, well, that's not the right guy. That's not the yeah, I understand that. They definitely are willing to support those that they've seen play. But in the reality of things, that's their job as general managers to go out there and find the right person. If Bob Quinn was actually a draft guru, We would have moved on from all these guys several years ago and replaced them with guys that contribute. You got to hope that Harris and Arwariye and these young cats, Jelani Tavai, Jared Davis, but there's so many players that are more productive across the league from the guys that we drafted. They're better already than what we have. So that's why everybody's just like, go out there and get Tua. He's going to be a franchise quarterback, and he's going to be the guy and pair him with Stafford. But guys, at the end of the day, are you really waiting and willing to wait 2 more years to have any? I mean, come on now. This would be 12 years of Stafford, well over $180 million career earnings. I'm all about win now. And win now means get me to a playoffs. Get me to a couple wins. Let's just have some hope. This is what the Lions organization is in desperate need of, an injection of hope. And you don't get that with Tua sitting on the bench for a year. Because you know what will happen? Yeah, you'll say the ideal plan is to get Tua and let him sit. 3 games in, Stafford throws 2 picks. Throw him in there. You know, you had other guys that have been in there. And look at that. We will all. I will be one of them saying, get Stafford out of there. I've seen enough of that guy. So plan A for me, defense,
but
all the way.
But isn't your head coach supposed to be the
he's not
the defensive
it's
magician?
Not. No, he's
the
not
guy who can spin pumpkins into Pro Bowl players.
No, he needs talent. Like anybody else. He's on the he needs talent train.
So we sold the bill of goods with Matt Patricia?
Hell yeah. Did you see the Super Bowl? Of course. He got nepotism, bro. But so it's Bob Quinn's job to help his boy out. Mm-hmm. If there ever was a friend that needed to kind of step his game up, Bob Quinn needs to help his boy because he's going to get himself fired and his boy, and you're going to relegate Patricia to be a defensive coordinator forever. That's what is going to happen. I don't see him getting another head coaching job. Hell no.
Look, I don't think there's necessarily a wrong answer here. It just depends on where you're kind of at. I think this team is further away from winning right now. Okay. And I don't think adding defensive players right now at that spot at 3 is going to help catapult you to playing in the playoffs and possibly making a run at a Super Bowl. I don't believe this team. I think they have too many pieces that they need to acquire and too many pieces that they need to add, which is why I find this mock draft to be quite interesting. And if you'd allow me the time, I'd love to present it to you. So this is what is it? Tom Fornelli from CBS. Always seem to find a lot of CBS mock drafts. They tend to do a pretty solid job here in my estimation. Anyways, he's got the Detroit Lions trading back with the San Diego, now the LA Superchargers, to 6. So the Chargers move up. They give you the 6th pick. They give you the number 71 pick, which I believe is in the 3rd round, and they give you a 2012 2nd-round pick to essentially move up 3 spots so they could take Tua Tagovailoa. Isaiah Simmons goes at pick 4 to New York. Andrew Thomas, the offensive lineman, goes to Miami. He'll be protecting, I don't know which quarterback. But your Detroit Lions at 6 come in and they take Jeff Okudah, cornerback. So with their pick that they end up moving back, the Lions end up trading down 3 spots and essentially get the guy who most mock drafts early on projected them to get. So to me, if this happens, right, that's a pretty solid move. You added some draft capital. You added another pick this year and you added another pick next year. You basically moved back 3 spots and you got the guy who everybody essentially penciled in for you to help take care of a guy like Darrius Slay, who we both have on the first plane ticket out of town to bring us in a 2nd-round pick for this year. I think this is solid. If something like this was to happen, look, I'm not beholden to Tua. I'm not.
Thumbs up on this one. I like it.
I'm not beholden to Tua at all. I would like a little bit more to kind of add and build around this team, but I don't think there's a wrong way to go here for the Detroit Lions, which is why this draft is so pivotal and why this team, I think, holds all the cards for how the rest of this draft is going to lay out. Detroit is in a prime spot. Yeah, you'd love Chase Young. It'd be great, right? But you're in such a great spot because there's another quarterback who, if he comes back healthy and all of his medicals check out, it gives you all the ability to wheel and deal. And you can move back. You can draft that quarterback. You can do a ton of things. I think Detroit fans, Lions fans will be upset if the Lions end up staying stationary at 3 and they end up taking a guy like Okudah. I think that's when they'll be upset, because at 3, if you take a quarterback, you're like, okay, cool, I get it, right? But if you stay at 3 and you had a chance to maybe move back with Miami, or you had a chance to maybe move back with the Chargers, or even Carolina, you have a chance to move back and add some more capital to your draft, I think at that point, Detroit fans will be very, very upset.
I think Miami is probably the major trade target, and I think 5 or 6, you get Okudah. It's not bad if you can sell Okudah and Slay.
Mm-hmm.
You improve the defense right away. You then have the opportunity to spend money on a defensive lineman, and there's some big name guys out there you can help that you can go out and sign. So it's going to be a major offseason, bro. I can't wait. March, draft, free agency, franchise tags. Stay with us. Doc and Jock, SI Lions Maven.
Let's say SI Lions Maven's ahead of it all. So
yes, we're on it. We're on it every single day, man. 7 days a week. It's the off season, man. This is the season. This is the time when it's hope season. You know, the Lions are going to be the next 49ers. The Lions, Darrius Slay is great. Pay him. It's great. Hope season. It's not bad. You know, even I projected a little bit. There's opportunities for us to win a division if there's some things that happen. It's hope season. February, hope season. Then March, it ramps up a little bit, and then reality hits after they draft, Epineza with the third pick. and I was like, oh, hell no. Thank you so much for a great podcast recording, cuz we didn't cause too much trouble this episode, so I'm pretty happy that I think this one's going to pass the test and live forever. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski.
339 might get pulled. We're not sure yet.
I am the Doc, John Macaroon. We'll wait and see.
We'll wait and see.
Follow us on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. We'll talk soon.
This was locker room talk.
Second dick.
Sorry, Detroit. Didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I hear voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me. They talk to me.